Hmm. I hope you can see my screen.
Hmm.
Okay, so this is simply named they, Tara, whoever they are, and this is an anti-war poem. There was a misnomer regarding Sassoon or uh, Owen, Brooke, or other uh, poets who were mistakenly called war poets. They should have been branded as anti war poets from the very beginning, but there is some kind of a misnomer, there is some kind of a misunderstanding, and people, critics, uh, called them war poets. However, that has changed and they are firmly regarded as anti war poets. Brooke, not so much, because the early poems of Brooke does support war in some cases, but when he saw the horrors of war through his own eyes, he realized his mistake and he uh, turned vehemently against all sorts of wars and conflicts. Sassoon was a companion to Owen. Besides being anti-war poet, Sassoon is also considered to be a modern poet. And by now, you have a clear understanding of who or what modern poets are and what is modernism in poetry. Inversely, war themes, writing about war, was something that defined modern poetry, because war, the first and the second world wars, were considered to be a modern phenomenon. War at this level had not been fought before. um, War was not this devastating before the first world war, and more so the second world war. Can somebody tell me why uh, the First World War, and Siegfried Sassoon is definitely um, First World War. Why, or what was the difference between all the other wars previously fought, which were never named World War, and why was World War named World War, and what is it that sets it apart from any other war fought? I mean, first, we will only talk about the First World War, because in Second World War, of course, Sassoon was not there. Yes, anyone might want to unmute and tell. You can raise your hands if you wish to answer this, because this is something that we might have to write in our answer scripts also. What was the difference that marks? Yes, Onnisha.
um আমার মনে হচ্ছে মানে isn't it because of the sheer magnitude মানে the reach of World War I
Yes,
এতটা ইম্প্যাক্ট তো এর আগে কোনো ওয়ার করতে পারেনি।
right. What do you mean when you say impact?
Let's say the participation of people in a war সেটা willingly হোক বা
Hmm.
unwillingly হোক,
Hmm.
but the sheer number of people, the sheer amount of places it reached and affected, that's what I mean when I say magnitude.
Okay, can you give an example?
um, an example doesn't come to my mind right now, but ধরুন যে
I mean,
ইউথের
Australian
পার্টিসিপেশন,
দাঁড়াও শ্রমণ, লেট অন্বেষা স্পিক।
ওকে হোয়াট আই এম সেইং ইজ যে
হুম
ইউথের পার্টিসিপেশন সেটা উইলিংলি হোক বা আনউইলিংলি, যে
হুম
তাদেরকে যে একটা সেন্স অফ ন্যাশনালিজম তাদের মধ্যে আনা হচ্ছে থ্রু দ্য ওয়ার,
হুম
এটা।
হুম হুম sense of nationalism. Okay, that's one thing that we will latch on to. Something that if Shipra ma'am decides to teach dulcet decorum est, then or anthem for the doomed youth, then this theme of
কেটে
sense of,
গেল আপনার কথা।
sorry, there's a constant disruption of network. এবার ঠিক আসছে? Can you hear me?
হ্যাঁ,
ওকে, যখনই
বেটার
এরকম
বেটার।
হ্যাঁ কেটে কুটে যাবে, রক্ত বেরোবে, তখনই বলে দেবে যে রক্ত বেরোচ্ছে। সো yeah, so uh, the mechanism of brainwashing young people uh, in terms of inculcating the ideas of nationalism into their minds. Yes, that's something that we will latch on to. But nationalism, the issue of nationalism is something that was there even in the all the other wars. My point is, my focus is, jeta Onnesha, you correctly said that the sheer magnitude of the war had not been seen earlier. Yes, Shaman is itching to say something, as usual. Yes, Shraman? You there, Shraman? Shraman, can you hear me?
আগের কথাগুলো পুরোটা কেটে গেল, কিন্তু মানে আগে যেগুলো এক্সপ্লেন করলেন না আপনি ন্যাশনালিজমের ব্যাপারে, ওটা শোনা যায়নি।
বলছি ন্যাশনালিজমের যে ইস্যুটা, সেটা অন্য ওয়ারগুলোতেও ছিল। ইনফ্যাক্ট অল ওয়ার্স হ্যাভ this idea that you are dying for your nation, and it is not something that is unique to the First World War or the Second World War. But my point is, what is, I mean, Onnesha gave me one point that the magnitude of war was huge with respect to all other wars ever fought in the world. What's what do you have to add to that?
I mean, in the First World War, we are seeing, I mean, the war, actual war, আমরা ফার্স্ট টাইম দেখতে পাচ্ছি যে হচ্ছে গিয়ে ওয়ার্ল্ড ইজ অ্যাকচুয়ালি এক একটা এন্ড থেকে ওয়ার্ল্ড যেটা অনেকটা স্ক্যাটার্ড ছিল, বাট ওয়ার্ল্ড ওয়ার দ্য লস ওয়ারে কোথাও না কোথায় নামছে, সেটার কথাই বলছিলাম। And also the fall of the empires, I mean, Austro-Hungarian empire হয়ে গেল, বাকি এম্পায়ার্স এগুলো যেগুলো মানে অনেক দিন ধরে এক্সিস্ট করছে।
Okay, there is some serious issue with the
আনসারটা খুব বাজে ছিল, পালিয়েই গেছে।
না না পালিয়ে যায়নি, আছি। There is some serious network issues. there is some serious network issues going on here. If I lose connection once again, I will stop the meeting and then I will join back, or I will like restart the system. So if it happens again, I will do that. Yeah, I mean, I got you, Shraman. Your answer was not bad, and I did not run away. After all, we are doing war poetry, so there is no dissertation is out of the question. Am I audible? Just raise your hand so that I would know. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
হ্যাঁ স্যার, হ্যাঁ
Fine.
স্যার।
Okay. All right. So if it happens again, I will stop the meeting and then we will have to rejoin. Anyway, so the point that Shraman made is correct. That it was concentrated at the war theaters, at the war fronts. All the other wars were, but First World War spread far and wide. Sometimes it entered into the cities, which had been happening, but all at the same time, so many powers involved in the act of brutally killing each other had had no precedent. So that's another thing. Magnitude and the involvement of, which falls under magnitude, yes, that earlier there were like one power fighting another power. There was like India fighting Pakistan, or India fighting China or Bangladesh, but uh, all the other powers of Europe, I mean powers that be, like England, Russia, France, uh, Belgium, whatever powers there were in the Western Europe, became involved, embroiled in the war, and has not this does not have a precedence. This does not have a precedence. So that's another thing. And anything else that anyone else would like to add? Magnitude, the sheer uh, stretch or the sheer spread of the violence. Anything else that marks the First World War as different from all the others that were fought earlier? I mean, of course, there were similarities with other wars, but there is something different this time. What was the thing that was different? Anyone can hazard a guess? Anyone? Yes, Shraman again. Oh, okay. We
আহ,
have someone else also. Shraman, wait for your turn. Biprojit, yes.
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
বলো।
স্যার মনে হয় এইটাই ফার্স্ট টাইম যখন মানে তিনটে দিক থেকে অ্যাটাক হচ্ছে, ল্যান্ড, এয়ার আর সি।
Air, are you sure?
তাই তো মনে হয়।
Would anybody
না, এয়ারটা মানে
agree
ওয়ার্ল্ড
with? হ্যাঁ, air
ওয়ার
was not
তিনটে তো এয়ার
involved.
বোঝায়।
মানে আগে ছিল না।
হ্যাঁ, না, air was not there. Air কারণ 1920s এ এরোপ্লেনের ফার্স্ট ডিজাইনস তৈরি হচ্ছে, বা ফার্স্ট প্রোটোটাইপস তৈরি হচ্ছে। So no, aeroplanes were not involved in First World War. What you are saying is happened in the Second World War. Dogfights and all that, bombings. Um, Anything else? Yes, but you are close. Like land, air, land and air এ এমন কি এয়ার নয়, ল্যান্ড অ্যান্ড সিতে কিছু কিছু চেঞ্জেস আসলো in terms of weapons. The weapons became highly modernized, more killer, gas, Gas was not used in earlier instances. So chemical
Tanks.
warfare, tanks, yes, tanks also. Biprojit and Shraman both have their hands up. Shraman, yes.
একটা তো হচ্ছে গিয়ে পয়জন গ্যাস, মানে যেটা
Hmm.
মনে পড়ছে, দ্য ইউজ অফ
Hmm.
পয়জন গ্যাস। আর একটা জিনিস যেটা আই আই থিঙ্ক মানে মেনশন করাটা কতটা অ্যাপ্ট হবে জানি না, বাট ওয়ার্ল্ড ওয়ার 1 ইজ দ্য টাইম, মানে যখন আর কি দ্য বয়েজ অ্যাকচুয়ালি অফ an household are going to war, and they became paralyzed because of this war, and
Hmm.
ultimately the women of the house, they are compelled to go to the or they are compelled to join the workforce.
Hmm.
তো এর আগে এত বড় ক্যাজুয়ালিটি সাধারণত হয়নি। মানে আমরা যদি দ্য ফ্লাই পড়ি, তো দ্য ফ্লাইতে আমরা দেখতে পাই যে দ্য বস অর আরেকটা যে ক্যারেক্টার আছে,
Hmm.
উডিফিল্ড প্রবাবলি, বা বসের ছেলে, এরা প্রত্যেকে কোথাও না কোথাও মানে যদিও উডিফিল্ড না, বাট বসের ছেলে কোথাও না কোথাও গিয়ে ওয়ার ভিক্টিম। তো
Hmm.
একটা ক্যাজুয়ালিটি রেট যখন বাড়ছে, বা এটা না, এটা না, আই মিন যদি ডিএইচ লরেন্সের টিকিট প্লিজ দেখি, তো ওখানে মানে আমরা দেখতে পাচ্ছি যে ওয়ার্ল্ড ওয়ারের কারণে কোথাও না কোথাও গিয়ে ফিমেল ওয়ার্কফোর্সের সংখ্যাটা বাড়ছে।
Hmm.
সেটা কি মেনশন করা যাবে এখানে?
No, not at this point in time, because we are trying to see as to how um, they are different, at least uh, on the level of engagement,
দেন
not on the level of affect in the society.
দেন পয়জন গ্যাস, মেশিন গানস প্রবলি এই টাইমে আসছে, এই দুটো মনে করছে।
Yes, mechanization of war. Yes, Biprojit, and then Shomi has written something. Damage and loss অন্য ওয়ারের থেকে বেশি ছিল, অনেক বেশি ছিল. Yes, yes, Biprojit. Biprojit.
ও স্যার, ওটা আগেই হাত তুলেছিলাম, ওটা আর ইয়ে করা হয়নি।
ওকে, ওকে, ঠিক আছে। সো ইয়া, আই মিন মেশিন গান, ইয়েস, মেশিন গান আগেও ছিল, ব্যবহার তেমনভাবে হয়নি, বাট ফার্স্ট ওয়ার্ল্ড ওয়ারে মেশিন গান ওয়াজ ইউজড এক্সটেন্সিভলি, অ্যান্ড দ্য ড্যামেজেস ওয়ার আনপ্রেসিডেন্টেড. People had not seen the kind of damage that these mechanical, these electronic, these mechanized weapons could do. Landmines, gas weapons, tanks, artillery shelling, all these things became more and more deadly as the time progressed, and we soon found out that there is something more threatening that will happen, but that's for the Second World War, and since we do not have any stake in the Second World War in terms of poets, we will not go there. But yes, তোমরা যখন আনসারটা লিখবে, ক্রিটিক্যাল অ্যাপ্রিসিয়েশনে অতটা আসবে না, কিন্তু অ্যান্টি ওয়ার পোয়েম হিসেবে যখন তোমরা এটাকে দেখবে, তখন তোমাদের এটাকে দেখাতে হবে, ইউ হ্যাভ টু সে দ্যাট um, there is a reason as to why the poets became anti-war, because the sheer destruction that the war could bring outweighed any other consideration. Bravery, passage of the ritual of passage of boys to men, sense of nationalism, whatever, everything was outweighed by the sheer destruction that a war of this magnitude can bring. It it shook people right in their boots. I mean, people who were sensitive and people who were not um, uh, warmongers. Warmongery will always talk or think about more wars so that they can sell more weapons. But people, common people who were affected by the war, they became staunchly averse to any kind of conflict. And the League of Nations, in the format of UN, was formed after the First World War in order to stop this kind of destruction from happening again. But it did anyway. So we need to understand why these poems are like these as they are. And we need to understand that Sassoon himself participated in the First World War while his friend Owen died. He didn't, he survived somehow. Um, one of the features of modern poetry, that is fragmentation, is more appropriate when applied or when seen under the lens of anti-war poetry, because it was the literary fragmentation of the landscape, nations, and, to our horror, of people. The bodies were fragmented. Uh, Bombs fell, bullets went through the bodies, and people were literally fragmented into so many pieces. টুকরো টুকরো হয়ে গেছিল মানুষের দেহ, and wherever the bombs fell, wherever the artillery shells landed, wherever the bullets made their presence, each and every place was shattered into pieces. The psychological pressure that was always there on the minds of the people, owing to the onslaught of the modern way of thinking and the modern life, was terribly shaken by the news and by the description of the First World War. Another thing that happened in the First World War that situates it in its unique position is that it was vividly described, it was vividly reported in newspapers, in radio, and other and through other forms of communication, which was not done in other wars which were fought. And that is why so many people came to know about war. I mean, if something happens right now, some 5,000 miles away from us, we would know it immediately by the virtue of media. And media was forming at that time. Radio, television wasn't there. Radio, newspaper, reporting, journalism, telegraph, all these things were quite active back then. And one of the differences that can be understood between other pre-modern wars and modern warfare is that there is extensive reporting. Reporters literally go to the war theater and start reporting from those places. Anyway, modernism is also marked by interrogation of the psyche. Modernism pays a lot of attention, following the example of Freud, paid a lot of attention to the inner workings of the mind. Earlier, wars were more physical. First World War was more psychological. I mean, it was physical, of course, but it had reverberations in the human psyche as well. People were scarred for life after they participated in the war, or they watched the horror of the wars from close quarters, or they read about it. The poems also poems are living testimonies of the way in which the war affected the psyche, the mind, and the behavior of the people. So, we will mix the themes of modernism, modern poetry, whatever defines modern poetry, whatever defines modernism, and map them onto the features of anti war poetry and see the result of this kind of alchemy. Of course, the results will be very depressing. The results would be devastating even to read. And imagine the condition of the people who were facing it continuously for 4 years, who were involved in the war. And like every time, it is always the poor, it is always the helpless, it is always the lower strata of the society which bore the greatest burnt of the war. And these poets were not scholars. I mean, they did have university education, but unlike professional poets, they are they are they are professional soldiers, and then they wrote poetry about war. And in at this time it will be pertinent to quote Owen, who said that my subject is not war, my subject is pity. The pity war distills. I don't know if I'm quoting him right. He said something like this: the pity war distills. He's interested in talking about the sense of waste and the sense of loss that a war of this magnitude churns from its ugly belly. Um, so let's move on to the text of they. They, the bishop tells us, when the boys come back, they will not be the same, for they will have fought in a just cause. One of the ways in which the people, one of the ways in which the young lads were brainwashed was religion. Many of us have a very firm belief in gods and supernatural and otherworldly powers that govern our lives. Religion is one such fairy tale, and the narrator of such fairy tales is a bishop. You will be horrified to know that the fathers in the church, the bishops, told the young soldiers that, it's good to die for your country. You should go to the war, you should fight the war, and you should win it for us. Because that's what Christian soldiers do. That is what is the duty of a Christian, to fight for the right. First World War was fought between two alliances, and one of them were the Allies, and the other one was the Axis. But that's the Second World War. Uh, the First World War had uh, the the Allies, and the double Atad. There was Atad of people, and Atad included Germany, um, Turkey, Italy. Those were the main forces who were fighting. Austria-Hungary also, who were fighting against the Allies or the Alliance, and then they became the Axis powers in the Second World War. Anyway, so one of the ways in which Hitler brainwashed the soldiers, the army, the common people of Germany was to excite them in the name of religion. For example, election time in our country, and people are excited in the name of religion, that you should vote for a particular political party because that political party will save our religion, will save our god, and its opposite parties are no different. They use that narrative and subvert it, present it to their vote banks by using the same tool of Jat, of caste, and religion. Yeah, you did not have to say that, but I mean, as I am saying, no different. Other political parties are no different. They use the same tool, but they dig a different garden. Both plant seeds of hatred. They are no different. There is no one better than the other. But let's not digress too much into present politics. But this bishop is a central image, is a central figure of this point. The bishop tells us, ধর্ম যদি বলে যে যুদ্ধ করতে হবে, তাহলে তো সেই ধর্ম মানে যুদ্ধটা করতেই হবে। এটা তো ধর্ম, যুদ্ধ করা। আমাদের জাতি, আমাদের ধর্ম, আমাদের ভগবান, আমাদের মহিলাদের বা পুরুষদের বাঁচাতে গেলে আমাদেরকে যুদ্ধ করতে হবে। So that is what the bishop, the representative of Christianity, which is supposed to be one of the non-violent religions, because Jesus Christ said that forgive people, forgive and forget, do not be violent against your neighbor, do not fight the 10 commandments, so on and so forth. And yet it is the bishop who has been paid by the war industry to tell us this. যেমন আমাদের সোশ্যাল আইকনসরা যারা আছে, তারা আমাদের বলে কিছু জিনিস এবং আমরা সেই জিনিসটাকে ফলো করি, এবং যেমন ধরো শাহরুখ খান বলছে যে এই মদটা খুব টেস্টি, এটাকে খাও, তো আমরা সেটাকে খাই। আদৌ হয়তো শাহরুখ খান ওই মদটাকে খায় না বা ওই ড্রিঙ্কটাকে খায় না, কিন্তু ওনাকে টাকা দেওয়া হয়েছে বলে উনি ওই কথাটা বলছেন। এবং ঠিক সেরকমই বিশপ, পণ্ডিত, মৌলভি, guru, whatever, I mean, whichever religion you pick up, they will say the same thing, because they are being paid by the warmongers, they are being paid by the war industry, because that is a place where you can catch young people, right? চার্চে একটা কমন প্লেস যেখানে অনেক লোকজন একসাথে হয়। যেমন দুর্গা পুজোর সময় ইয়াংস্টার্সরা স্পেশালি এক জায়গায় হয়, তো সেইখানে যদি আমি একটা মঞ্চ দাঁড় করিয়ে ঠিক প্যান্ডেলের পাশে চিৎকার করে করে বলি যে অমুক ধর্ম বাজে, তসুক ধর্ম বাজে, তোমরা সবাই এক হও ইন হোয়াট এভার নেম, sorry to offend any leftists, and you should do this and do that. It's similar to this. The bishop tells us, কি বলছে, when the boys come back, when, not if. যুদ্ধেতে যারা যায় তাদেরকে কোনো সময় ইফ বলা হয় না। However, if you are somebody who really thinks for the people who die in the war, then you will tell them that the, the war is a monster. It does not see if you wear a Indian uniform or Pakistani uniform or Nepal uniform. I don't know if Nepal has an army. It must. I have not really seen it, but anyway, sorry. So the the uniform does not really matter. They should The bishop should have had said if the boys ever come back, but that will be very negative thing to say. That will break the morale of the soldiers who are going to fight the war. So the bishop says that when the boys come back, এমন একটা ভান করছে বিশপ যে ও জানে যে সব ছেলেগুলো যেগুলো গ্রাম থেকে মরতে গেছে, লড়তে নয় মরতে গেছে, তারা ফিরে আসবে। However, they will not be the same. যখন তারা যুদ্ধ থেকে ফেরত আসবে, when they will be back from their war experience, they will not be the same. Of course, this is a very redundant thing to say that you will be the same person when you come back, for they will have fought in a just cause. See, this is how the brainwashing was done, that you are fighting for the right, no matter which political ideology you follow, no matter which IPL team you're a fan of, no matter which nationality you belong to, there is no just cause. You are made to think that there is a just cause. The just cause stops existing the point where the war begins. The moment you take an innocent life, the moment you bomb a city, the moment you kill an innocent civilian, there cannot be any just cause. But we are told, we are motivated that we are fighting for the just cause. পাকিস্তান আমাদের উপর আক্রমণ করেছে, আমরা তো আক্রমণ করতে যাইনি, তাই জন্য আমরা বা চায়না বলছে যে ওটা আমাদের জায়গা, চাইনিজ সোলজার্সদের একটা ধর্ম যে ভারতের বা ওদের যেটা জায়গা সেটা ওদের ক্যাপচার করে নেবে, যারা বাধা দেবে তাদেরকে মারা হবে ইত্যাদি। So every time the opposite party's cause is just, that signifies that none of them are just. They lead the last attack. So perhaps the war is towards its end, and people are sent to secure the victory that is won by their predecessors after giving up their lives. So there is a better chance of the boys making it home alive, even if paralyzed, even if maimed, even if maddened, but there is a possibility that they will come back, because this is the last attack. They have broken into the ranks of the enemies, and now it's okay to send younger children, younger people into the war, because the bulwark of the war is done. Boys as young as 14 went to the war theater and died. As young as 14, when you guys were sitting for your 9 class exam or 10 class 10 madhyamik. Boys of your age at that time were dying like flies in front of the machine gun. They had no clue what's going to hit them. Anyway, on Antichrist, their comrades' blood has bought new right to breed an honorable race. They have challenged death and dared him face to face. K Antichrist? Who is the Antichrist? I mean, this is not really very highlighted in all the documentaries, in all the books that are usually written against Hitler, that he was a staunch Catholic Christian. How many of you knew this, and how many of you were very sure that Hitler was a Christian, Catholic Christian? Just raise your hands if you knew. I mean, it's okay to not to know. Not many, I guess. I did not know either when I started reading about Hitler. I realized that he was a Christian, a devout Christian, a Catholic Christian. I mean, I'm not paying more attention to Catholic, but I'm saying he was a Christian. So who's the Antichrist? So all these countries that were fighting each other, they were all Christian countries. So who is the Antichrist? I mean, who is the Satan? I don't know. I mean, I think the poet is also making fun of this bishop, is satirizing the knowledge of this bishop. He is puncturing the whole discourse of this Antichrist thing, and replace Antichrist with anti-Hindu, anti-Muslim, anti-Sikh, Khalistani, and whatever shit comes to the mouth of these politicians. And the results will be the same. There is no enemy, only the invented ones. ও ওরা আসছে, তোমাকে মারবে, তোমার মা বোনকে রেপ করে দেবে, তোমার সম্পত্তি কেড়ে নেবে। কে ওরা? হু আর দিস ওরা? হু আর দিস দে? কারা আসে লুট করতে? কারা আসে রেপ করতে? Do we know them? Do we know their religion? No. When it happens, people from any religion can take the form of any other religion and do whatever they wanted to do. They have never stopped to think about these things. And religion is just one chapter in this whole discourse of hatred created and spread by warmongers and politicians. Let's move ahead. So Antichrist কে সেটা জানা যাবে না, সেটা জানা গেল না, কারণ ওয়েস্টার্ন ইউরোপের সব কান্ট্রি তো খ্রিশ্চান কান্ট্রি, আর সবাই বলে আমি বড় খ্রিশ্চান, ওরা বলে আমি বড় খ্রিশ্চান। কেউ প্রোটেস্ট্যান্ট, কেউ ক্যাথলিক, কেউ ব্যাপটিস্ট, কেউ মেথডিস্ট, কেউ পিউরিটান, কেউ এই কেউ তাই, দে আর অল খ্রিশ্চানস, রাইট? Their comrades' blood has bought new right to breed an honorable race. কাদের comrades? ওই যারা এবার লড়াই করতে যাচ্ছে, those people who are going to the war theater now, their comrades' blood sacrifice has brought a new right, survival of the fittest. And if you are using the argument of survival of the fittest, which was used by Charles Darwin, who was a biologist, who said that God has not created us, we have descended from apes, chimpanzees and gorillas, then how and why would you believe in the survival of the fittest? And the discourse is like this, that I mean, if you lose your blood, if you die, if you sacrifice, then you have the right to breed an honorable race. Honorable race কারা? যারা সব থেকে বেশি violent. Huns, Mongols, British, French, some Indians, some Pakistani, some Chinese. They have the right to perpetuate their race. Don't you think this bishop speaks more like Hitler does? Hitler said the same thing. যে শুধু শুধু আর্যদেরই এই পৃথিবীতে থাকার অধিকার আছে। অনলি দ্য আরিয়ান্স হ্যাভ দ্য রাইট টু live in this earth, live on this earth, and it is they who should perpetuate the race, the Aryan race, and all other races should be enslaved to them. And that is why the Jews who did have Aryan blood in them were exterminated like pests by um, by Hitler. They have challenged death and dared him face to face. Of course, this excites young blood, testosterone boosting uh, injection, verbal injection, that you face, you challenge death and you face death, and then you come back and then you're a hero. Like Gayatonde, Ganesh Gayatonde said that मौत को छूके टॉक से वापस आ गया. So we think that he's a hero. Whoever comes face to face with death and comes back fighting, challenging, grappling with death is a hero. Nobody looks at their pants. I mean, every human being values his or her life dearly, and every one of us are scared to die. Then it's only a matter of chance, it's only a matter of fate that somebody came back and somebody didn't. It's not about bravery. I mean, after machine gun there is no bravery. And that reminds me of I think it was Adorno who said that after Auschwitz poetry is barbaric. Like the horrors of the concentration camps make human civilization redundant. I mean, if a human can do this to a human being, then we need to go back to our drawing boards. We need to recalculate what makes us human. আমরা যে কথাটা বলি মনুষ্যত্ব নেই, মানুষ নয়, বা মানুষের মতন কাজ করেছে, মানুষের বাচ্চা, বা মানুষের এই তাই, what is this human being? And I think war poetry challenges this very notion of humanity and human. Anyway, and this is a exalted form of human being. A bishop is a religious figure. Next stanza. We are none of us the same, the boys reply. At least here we find another voice replying to the voice of the bishop. There's another voice. It's not a dramatic monologue. It's more of a dialogue between the religious people who brainwash young boys to motivate them to give up their lives, either in the name of nationalism or in the name of religion or in the name of political party or in the name of football league or cricket league or whatever. So the boys say that we are none of us the same. Of course, war has changed us. What has changed? For George lost both his legs and Bill's stone blind. Poor James shot through the lungs and like to die. And Bert's gone syphilitic. You can't find a chap who's served that hasn't found some change. And the bishop said the ways of God are strange. Change in terms of physical attributes, which has far-reaching psychological reverberations. So what has happened to George? He has lost both his legs. That's his change. Bill has become blind. And Jim has been shot through his lungs, and he would rather die than to continue living like this. And Bert has gone into a syphilitic shock from infection. If not from infection, syphilis is a sexually transmitted disease. And when the young boys were away from their sweethearts in the village or in the city, or they were away from their families, they indulged in a lot of debauchery. Sometimes forced, sometimes uh, they just happen to be lucky. And if a bullet did not kill a young soldier, a life of lawlessness and debauchery, an inevitable result of um, victory even over another force. Now, why I am saying victory over another force? Why I am saying victory over another city? Because the young boys would try to collect the spoils of the war. If you have seen that movie, Sam Bahadur, Manekshaw says something very important to his troops. And the fact that it has to be hammered home into the minds of the troops is something disturbing. In the movie, Manekshaw, played by what's his name, Vicky Kaushal, he says that when we win, we will not even look at the women present in the war ravaged places. Why does he have to say that? Because that is what an army, a victorious army, does to the nation where it visits. They rape the women over there, they loot and plunder. This shows the true reality of chivalrous men fighting for their nation. They are not fighting for their nation anymore. They are just animals. And it's not like everybody is like that, but most of them are like that. If you take up, for example, the condition of Kashmir once upon a time, there were allegations that Indian army, some soldiers of Indian army had raped some people, some women over there. The same allegations used to come from Assam, Manipur, Nagaland, and other places. I don't know if things have changed or the reports are suppressed. But this is the ugly reality of war. War has no glory. War has no chivalry, no gallantry can be found in war. So Bert, who has contracted syphilis, might have contracted by raping too many women. Anyway, so you will not find a chap who's served that hasn't found some change. Of course, whoever has gone to the war has changed. Yes. Anybody wants to say something? Yes, Sujata, you have something to say?
স্যার ভুল করে অন হয়ে গেছিল, সরি।
Okay, okay. Thank God she does not have a machine gun with her. নাহলে ওইটা যদি ভুল করে অন হয়ে যায়, just imagine what could happen. In fact, during war or during practice, many people die because they forget to be careful. And sometimes people who used to clean their weapons, there was a one stray bullet in the magazine in the chamber, and they cleaned. While they were cleaning their rifles, it went off and people died. Anyway, so the bishop that saying that দ্য ওয়েজ অফ গড আর স্ট্রেঞ্জ। যখন আর কিছু বলার থাকে না, তখন এই ধরনের লোকগুলো একটা কথাই বলে যে ভগবান যা করেছে ভালোর জন্য করেছে। আরে ভাই, জর্জ খোঁড়া হয়ে গেছে, জর্জের দুটো পা কাট কেটে বাদ চলে গেছে, তাতে কি ভালো হলো? বা হোয়াট ইজ সো স্ট্রেঞ্জ ইন দিস এনকাউন্টার which made Bill blind? What good has come out of it? What good has the bullet done to Jim's lungs? What good, ultimately, is asked by Sassoon, has been brought to the society by war? And yet, religion, which is supposed to be the guardian of our society, which is supposed to be showing us the right path to peace and to fraternity, to brotherhood and sisterhood, whatever, is actually supporting the war mechanism. And it's not just like appropriation by the political forces and powers. They are active participants in this. We will do good to realize that religion and the guardians, custodians of religion are not so innocent that they are carried away by the by the promises of the political leader. They want power for themselves, and the power to influence people is a great power. And the bishop, when challenged, when confronted with real changes that negatively affect people, says the ways of God are strange, sab maya hai. Nothing to be said against this, that there must be some good that will come out of losing your legs and losing your eyes or being shot through your lungs. There must be some good, isn't it? Of course, we have not yet found what is so good about losing one's life, losing one's or losing one's lungs. Anyway, so that's the poem Day. Okay, let's now go to another poem that is Banishment. This is also a short poem, and I deliberately selected short poems so that we could finish it early.
কারণ স্যার আপনি
Yes.
ভালো তাই।
Right, yes. Okay, banishment, you know the meaning of banishment. It is exile, তাড়িয়ে দেওয়া, কাউকে তার বাড়ি ছাড়া করা, কোনো অন্য জায়গায় তাকে আটকে রাখা, to make somebody leave one's home by some tactic, by creating some trouble for that person. And war not just banished soldiers for long years from their own families, but thanks to the Second World War, especially, if not First World War, thousands of people and subsequent wars have helped create thousands of refugees, millions of refugees, and all problems related to that. Any war not just piles up dead bodies, but they create a whole set of people, rootless people, who flee from the war zones. in order to save their lives. And these people are nobody's responsibility. They die. If you remember this image of the boy drowned in the sea, and the waves um, brought back onto the shore by the waves. If you have not, and if you're having a good time, I will make you have a bad time. I'll try to search for the image of the boy. Image of the boy drowned in the sea. He was a refugee. Yeah, got it. I hope you can see the image of this boy lying on the beach.
Yes, sir.
Yes, remember this image. This is the fruit of war. This is the glory of war. I think this is an Iraqi Syrian boy, and Iraq and Syria and all these god-forsaken people, they are always fighting on something or another, just like us. And this, which Google does not want us to see, this is like a, this is too terrible an image. This is the true form of war. If you had ever thought that there is one iota of glory in war, then remember this image. The boy and his family had to run away from the war zone, and yet they could not save themselves. They were banished. And the boy fell from the boat. People always fall from the boat. It's a common thing. He should have had learnt swimming, right? In the desert, from where he is. His fault. যুদ্ধ তো হতেই থাকবে। বাচ্চাটা মারা গেছে, তাহলে ওর মা দায়ী। ওর মা ওকে দেখেনি, ও পড়ে যাচ্ছে। ওর বাপ ওকে দেখেনি, ও পড়ে যাচ্ছে। তো মা বাবার ফল্ট। যুদ্ধের তো দোষ নেই এখানে। যুদ্ধ কোথায় হচ্ছে? যুদ্ধ তো অনেক দূরে হচ্ছে। This is what Banishment talks about. That, people are forced to flee from their homes, and soldiers are banished from their families, from their beloved, from their own people, and they are sent to some dirty, muddy, foggy hell to die. মরে গিয়ে নরকে যাওয়া এক ধরনের জিনিস, জ্যান্ত নরকে চলে যাওয়া ছিল the fate of these soldiers. I mean, I don't know if any one of you is from a defense background. If you know what it means to be on duty in the Kargil landscape, on the mountain tops in Kargil, it gets -45. Can humans survive -45? Well, they do, or you better do, because you're fighting for your country after all. Or it's +55 in the Thar desert. I don't know, এখন Thar desert এর টেম্পারেচার কমে এখন কলকাতার টেম্পারেচার বেড়ে গেছে. So we are the soldiers and the survivors maybe. But a soldier has to stay away from his family, from his people, because another nation wants some snow-laden peak for, making another country bent down on its knees. So that's Banishment. Anyway, so this is a first person narrative. I am banished from the patient men who fight. They smote my heart to pity, built my pride. This is a kind of a reverse banishment that we are seeing. The soldier wanted to be with the men, be with the brothers he had been fighting alongside. তাই জন্য বলছে যে আমাকে ওই ধৈর্যবান মানুষদের কাছ থেকে ব্যানিশ করে দেওয়া হয়েছে যারা যুদ্ধ করছে। They are fighting still and I have been banished from their company. This is also, you know, this is strange, but this is true. I used to do NCC. I was a cadet for 3 years, and it was very heartbreaking for us to leave our comrades, even from a camp. Some people cried. We used to undergo a lot of hardship, and this hardship helped us form bonds. Some of them last a lifetime. And when your life is in the hand of your comrade, you better form a bond. The backbiting, the bitching that happens in our society cannot have a place in the army culture. I mean, of course, backbiting, bitching okhaneo hoy. But when you are facing the common enemy, when you are facing bullets, the person next to you is your god. He of course, she has not made a appearance yet in an active war in India. So he is your god. He could save you or he could not save you. So Sassoon, or the persona created by Sassoon, is not happy to be banished from the company of the men who were fighting the war. They smote my heart to pity. When Sassoon, or when the persona created by the poet saw their poor condition, his heart was smitten with pity. Pity war distills. This is the pity that Owen was talking about. দেখলে কষ্ট হবে, মানে what we are being made to see, thanks to our Bollywood and thanks to our aggressive pro-government media, we are seeing a very unreal picture of the war. আমরা আসল জিনিসটা তো দেখিই না, দেখানো হয় না আমাদের, তাই না আমরা দেখি না। আমরা দেখি যে হ্যাঁ হাত কেটে গেছে, পা কেটে গেছে, গুলি লেগে গেছে, বাট গুলিটা শরীরের কি করতে পারে সেটা যদি তুমি কাছে থেকে কোনোদিনও না দেখো, তাহলে তোমার ধারণাটা জন্মাবে না তোমাদের যে what will bullet, a single bullet do to your body, even if it goes through and through, আর পার চলে গেলেও কি করে দিতে পারে শরীরটা, সেটা না দেখলে বুঝবে না। and I don't want to dwell on that much, but it will make you feel pity not just for one person, two persons, a platoon, or your friend or your relative, but your heart should be filled with the pity that comes from the wastage of youth, from the wastage of life. That is the real pity. মানে pity এখানে empathy নয়, কিন্তু pity মানে হচ্ছে তুমি যখন ওই তোমার মগজে ওই আইডিয়াটা ঢুকে যাবে যে war is shit, that is the real form of pity. Excuse me, I have a call. Okay, sorry for the interruption. As I was saying, um, that uh, the the idea of pity is not you feel sympathy, you feel bad for one person who has died or who has lost his or her legs. No, the idea is to fill your heart with pity at the fact that this is a wastage of life. This is a wastage of all kinds of um, war effort. However, these people made Sassoon see the true condition of war and filled his heart with pity and also built his pride. Pride in friendship, pride in brotherhood, pride in the fact that they, being humans, are fighting or are challenging or are coping, surviving somehow the onslaught of this inhuman war. Shoulder to aching shoulder, side by side, they trudged away from life's broad fields of light. So instead of shoulder to shoulder, Sassoon inserts a word aching. Their shoulders are aching because they are carrying a lot of weight. And they are fighting side by side. They are walking, walking with a great effort. সেটাকে ট্রাজিং বলে. They are not walking, they are trudging away from life's broad wheels of light. In the trench, in inclement weather, where there is no light, where there is no air, these soldiers have to stay and rot. Just like, your just like as I was pointing out about Kargil and about Thar and about other places where they have to spend so many months in a bunker. They hardly see sunlight and they grow weak, or they do not have vitamin D, and all sorts of problems arise from that. So they move away from the from light. They go into darkness, and that is where they die. Their wrongs were mine, and ever in my sight they went arrayed in honor. Whatever wrongs happen all at the same time, all together. Like there's a slogan of NCC, that ekta or anusashan, unity and discipline. We never had discipline, but we had unity. If someone would do something wrong, the entire platoon, the entire batch will be punished. And that's where we formed this bond of friendship. And ever in my sight they went arrayed in honor. They did not do, according to Sassoon, these soldiers were always doing something that was honorable. They were doing things which were humanly impossible, and still they were at it. They were doing these things which earns honor for them, and they stayed in the honorable position in which they had gotten themselves into. And even under threat, even under the pain of death, the soldiers never forgot their training, never forgot the idea of unity and discipline, and that earned them honor. But they died, not one by one, and mutinous I cried to those who sent them out into the night. সবাই মারা গেছে মোটামুটি ওর কোম্পানিতে যারা ছিল, ইনক্লুডিং Sassoon. So I don't including Awen. I don't know if Awen and Sassoon were in the same platoon, but they did meet when they were injured once in the army hospital, and that is where they formed a bond of friendship. সো নট ওয়ান বাই ওয়ান, অনেক সময় এক এক করে মরেছে, আবার অনেক সময় একসাথে সবাই মরে গেছে, the whole platoon, the whole brigade in fact gone in a single attack. And he cried, but crying by a soldier is considered to be mutinous, because of course the answer is very simple, that boys don't cry, mard ko dard nahi hota. And to cry is to show that you're weak, according to some political or some stereotypically social. And of course, in the discourse of war, you cannot cry, because according to some people, crying means that you're displaying some sort of weakness in your mind, weakness in your heart, you're weak. So, and yet he cried, committing an act of mutiny even against his chain of command. He cried mutinously to those who sent them out into the night. Who sent these people out into the night? The politicians, the capitalists, the warmongers, the bishop, the church, the war industry, all of them in tandem, all of them hand in gloves. It is they who sent them into the night to die, being cannon fodder. There is no enmity between between the people of one country and another. I mean, if I ask you, do you know anyone in Pakistan who you hate? Like, I'm not talking about cricketers. You don't know cricketers, like, not personally, or their prime minister, or some terrorist over there, but like any common people, like students. Do you know any students in Pakistan who you dearly hate, who you hate from the bottom of your heart? I don't know. I mean, no, I don't know. I don't know many teachers over there, and the ones I know, I do not hate them. I mean, there was this lady I met in my scholarship days, in 18-19, in the summer orientation program, and well, she was very beautiful, and she was very nice to me. And there was this another person who was in the University of Oregon, and she was like an angel to me. I don't know why I should hate her, only because she's from a different country. She is from Pakistan. We don't know. I mean, if we join the army and we go to fight these people, I mean, we don't know who these people are. We just kill each other. So going into the night is also symbolic of the moral confusion, the confusion that as humans we are thrown into. We never ask, why should I kill the other person? The answer is only because that person is wearing a different colored uniform. Why did the person who attacked the CRPF personnel and killed 42 of them, what enmity, what could those 42 people have done, all of the 42 people have done to that particular person, so that it warrants their killing? We will never know. I mean, of course we know nothing. Only because they were CRPF personnel, because I mean, they wanted to do this job not because they love their country, but because they want to do a job. I mean, if I say that I love teaching and I love my students, no. I teach because it's a profession, it's a vocation. Yeah, I do like teaching, yeah, but only for the love of it. No, I get money from it. This is my profession, and I will teach irrespective of whom I like or dislike, or religion, caste, creed, color, whatever. I mean, that's what we should do. But a soldier in wartime is supposed to kill another person only because that other person wears a uniform of a different color. Because I don't know if you can make any difference between India and Pakistani people. I mean, if we are not wearing different colored uniforms, I don't think we can make much distinction between them and us. Chinese, you can say, of course, yeah. I mean, but Pakistani people, I don't know if we can make a distinction just by looking at them. The darkness tells us how vainly I have striven to free them from the pit where they must dwell. The darkness is witness to the effort that these people have put in, or the effort that Sassoon has put in to free them from the pit. What is this pit? Can somebody answer it? What is this pit where they are dwelling? If you are taught strange meeting, you will find a similar space. What is this pit? What do you think this pit is? Of course, it's a symbol, but what is the symbol of? What is the pit symbol of? Trisha, would you like to answer? You can mention your views in the chat box also. Perhaps Trisha has fallen asleep. Tista,
স্যার কি জিজ্ঞেস করলেন?
তুমি প্রথমবার শুনতে পাওনি?
না, আসলে স্যার বাড়িতে একটু হই হট্টগোল চলছে, বোনের রেজাল্ট বেরিয়েছে ওই জন্য আজকে।
Acha, great. Congratulations to your sister. The question is, what does this pit mean?
থ্যাংক ইউ।
From the pit they must dwell. What is this pit? I lost connection once again, but it happened after a long time anyway. So maybe Tista is busy. We have more people here.
স্যার আপনার কথা কেটে গেল স্যার।
হ্যাঁ, আমি জিজ্ঞেস করছি যে পিটটার মানেটা কি? পিট যেখানে the soldiers must dwell. What is the pit?
জানি
জয়িতা?
না স্যার।
Yes.
পেট মানে কি গ্রেভ বা কিছু এরকম?
Grave, okay.
স্যার
That's
পেট বলতে তো
one way
ওই
to...
মানে স্যার পেট বলতে ওই হেল হোলটাকে বোঝানো হতে পারে, যেখানে ওদেরকে থাকতে হচ্ছে, যেখানে ওদের জব, মানে ওটাই ওদের
So what is the
প্রফেশন, টু
name?
কিল এন্ড টু সাফার।
Yeah, what is the name of
ক্যাম্প,
this
আর্মি
hellhole?
ক্যাম্প।
আর্মি ক্যাম্পে পিট কোনটা হয়?
যেখানে বাংকার গুলো থাকে।
Yeah, bunker, grave, what else? Remember, this is First World War. First World War had another name, or there was some kind of a technique that was used to fight the First World War. Jyotirmoy? জ্যোতির্ময় বোধহয় খাচ্ছে। চৈতালি? People have either fallen asleep or they are busy eating. You can eat and talk.
স্যার স্যার স্নেহা চ্যাট বক্সে বলেছে কিছু।
স্নেহা চ্যাট বক্সে হোলোকস্ট বলছে। What happened in Holocaust? Why is it a pit? Why are you talking about the Holocaust when we are talking about the pit? Anyone else? Manoshi?
স্যার আপনার কথা মাঝে মধ্যে কিচ্ছু বোঝা যাচ্ছে না, মানে কেটে যাচ্ছে পুরো, মানে সাইলেন্ট হয়ে যাচ্ছে, তারপর আবার শোনা যাচ্ছে, এরকম হচ্ছে।
হ্যাঁ, পুরো
মাঝে
পিয়ানো
মধ্যে
পিয়ানো হচ্ছে একদম।
মাঝে মধ্যে ওই নেটওয়ার্কটা আবার ডিস্টার্ব করছে আর কি। আমার প্রশ্নটা হচ্ছে
হ্যাঁ,
যে
মনে হয়
হোলোকস্ট,
গরমের জন্য আপনার নেটওয়ার্ক প্রবলেম হচ্ছে।
হোলোকস্টের সাথে পিটের কেন সম্পর্কটা করলো
এবার
স্নেহা?
তো রোবোটিক শোনাচ্ছে স্যার।
I don't know how to.
স্যার আবার রিপিট করুন, কিচ্ছু শুনতে পাইনি।
হ্যাঁ, নেটওয়ার্কটা আবার ডিস্টার্ব করছে। শুরুতে
এটাই
করছিল, এখন
ঠিক
আবার
আছে,
করছে।
পুরো
Can you
মানে
hear me now?
আগে যে পিটারের যে ডিসকাশন
Am I audible now? Because I lost connection for a while.
হ্যাঁ, এখন শোনা যাচ্ছে। এখন
এখন
শোনা
পরিচিত।
Okay. So
যাচ্ছে।
Sneha said that there is some kind of a connection between Holocaust and pits. There is, but
হ্যাঁ এখন
Holocaust
শোনা
was
যাচ্ছে।
পিটের
Second World War.
ডিসকাশন থেকে আর শোনা যাচ্ছে না কিছু আপনার।
Let me rejoin and see if I don't know if the whole meeting would be disrupted, but just bear with me.